Folks, thank you for joining us. And this kind of impromptu live, usually, I give you all some notice in advance. Um, but who needs notice when you have an excellent guest, right? So we're gonna dive straight into that. And what we're gonna do today, and I'm Shetron Collins, I'm the CEO of Youth Business, Trinidad and Tobago. Always keep forgetting to say that, right? We're gonna
Tell
just kind
people
of
who
give
you
you
are.
all, gonna get some insights into our building a valuable brand workshop coming up in say 2 weeks, but I think it's less than 2 weeks now,
Yeah,
11
less than.
days, right? So February the 11th, we're going to host that workshop for you all. So today, we have none other than the co-founder of the Market Movers Limited, a YBTT director, host of all of those other companies as well, but we must acknowledge the 2025 Anthony Sapta Award winning Caribbean Excellence in Entrepreneurship, Miss Rachel Rennie Gonzalez. Rachel?
Yeah. Hi,
Right,
hi.
so
Thank you, Shadran, for that wonderful introduction. I'm getting used to it. It's been a week.
I have to make sure I keep in the award winning coming in. So,
Yeah.
before we go into a whole discussion and promotion around the workshop, I kind of think we need to set the stage for persons in understanding what branding really is, right? You know, you've kind of helped craft your own brand, but I know you've helped a lot of entrepreneurs as well develop their own brand. So could you tell us why is having a strong brand essential?
Yeah, I mean, I look at my brand as like my, how to put it, next best assistant, next best version of me that is, this non-human part of it. It's this persona of what our company stands for, what we do, the problems we solve. And when you develop your brand, it actually takes a lot of pressure off of you as an entrepreneur. So you have to look at it as this separate entity, and I know I might not be using the technical terms in colleges and stuff, but this is from pure experience, 16 years of building a brand. And I think when you mold and shape that persona, that brand persona, what that looks like, what that feels like, what it tastes like, it really does define, and no one can it cannot be broken, I guess, right? It stands for something. And as humans, I mean, we falter, right? We make mistakes. But when you build a strong brand, it can hold up on its own. If you give it the right resources, the right tools, you present it the right way, this can become this almost this foundation for what you build upon, right? So, with I don't know much about construction, but I know the foundation is important. So
It's
I
very
think
important.
that's really understanding, what that brand stands for. It's much more than just, the logo on your t-shirt, Chadron, it's really its own persona. And I think the more we shape it, the more we define what that brand stands for, it makes us resilient and powerful. So
Yeah, and I think let's go back one step there. People usually think your branding is all about visuals, it's about your colors, it's about your
mm.
logo, it's about your packaging, and that's where the story ends. But can you tell us some of the misconceptions that people usually have um, about branding that we can address in this workshop?
Yeah, I mean, I think exactly what I said before was with that feeling. I think that's more, what do people feel when they interact with your brand, when they, see the brand? And, recently this week, obviously I had to kind of tell my story because a lot of people were, yes, I won the award, but we won the award. But it was kind of like, okay, but we never heard about this brand before. And tell us about it. And I had to sort of tell that story all over again. And I think what came up for me is really that feeling. It's that a brand, it can be so powerful now. Visually, somebody can feel it, right? You can look at that logo and feel empowered. When I look at YBTT's logo, I've been getting support from the moment I started my business in 2009, the Market Movers. And when I see YBTT, I think hope, right? Now, YBTT doesn't sell hope. But at the same time, it gives me that feeling. And I think that's a misconception that we feel a brand, it must be neutral and it must be, black or white. And it can be anything. It can be that feeling that the consumer has. And I think the emotional side of it is really important. Understanding that persona, yes, you have to be respectful and there's certain ground rules on brands and their responsibility and things like that. But I think it's that feeling, like what does your brand feel like to you? And the more we tap into that, the more we can build components of a brand that reflect that on all touch points, right? You can do things from, Subway with the smell of the bread when you walk in, that's part of their branding, right? That you smell fresh bread now and you're like, oh, where's Subway? And it might just be your mom or something baking bread, right? So these are things that some misconceptions that it's just on paper or it's just on something physical. Your brand can resonate throughout. And the more we open ourselves up to that, I think we can build something that is more complex, has more depth, and can withstand, as I said, government changes, anything really. And it can evolve. A brand is not stagnant. It is not, Coca-Cola has reinvented and evolved itself many times over. And I'm calling big brands just because it's what we immediately recognize as a brand, right? And I do think that there is this point when your brand is recognizable and you have enough brand strength, you have enough what I like to call your footprint, your digital footprint, like you're leaving a mark. And I think when you get to that phase, that's sort of when you know, okay, my brand is, and it doesn't have to be a million people recognizing this. It could just be your core target audience. So when people say they don't know my brand, I'm like, okay, it's because you're not my customer. I don't take it personally. I actually don't want everyone to know the brand per se. Um, and it's not a secret thing. It's just it's meant to be that way. It's meant to be a very personalized service, and it's meant for persons who value their health and wellness, value themselves, or are elderly and can't move around as much, or are differently able. So again, from the time I see someone in leggings, I already know what they're coming from the gym. Like this could be my customer. And you find similarities in your customer with your brand, right? And I think your brand is also a mirror. It can reflect your consumer should really see themselves, feel themselves within your brand, feel a part of it. And it doesn't, so when you get to that point, you realize your brand doesn't belong to you anymore. Many times David and I were like, okay, let's just pack it up and um there are times when it's just too much, right? Or it feels like too much. And I think we are reminded constantly that this is not ours anymore. It's really belongs to our customers. It's a part of their lifestyle. So you do have this responsibility when your brand sort of becomes this next level. So if you're not ready for that, definitely be ready, because when that moment comes where you are known as the credible brand or the credible source in your industry or your sector, like that's a great place to be, I think. It means that you have some longevity, and what you decide to do in that moment or where to take the brand next is really important. So you're always thinking about how can I create the right environment. It's almost like it's growing up, right? So my brand is what, 16 years? It's now a teenager. So it needs certain things, but it can be independent now. I don't have to baby it. I don't have to nurture it as much. I just have to feed it a lot of food, give it a lot of resources. And I think those are the things that are common misconceptions about your brand. But
You think
definitely
global.
the role is to get to that point where you are known as the credible brand in your industry. That to me is when, a brand has reached, you go by so and so. That's the best mechanic. And you know why, right? He's built that brand. So it can sort of snowball really quickly. So when you do the right foundational stuff, and that's what I'm going to do in the workshop, just kind of teach you some really fundamental key things that you should put in place, no matter how far or how big you want to grow your brand. One thing though, you must know what's the big vision of the brand, right? Some brands are, as I said, you don't have to be the next Coca-Cola. You don't necessarily, it's how, where do you want to get to and what is that point? And depending on that, you actually have to do, yes, you do the foundational stuff, but there are certain things you have to put in place that is a little different if you want your brand to really stay small, not small, but stay high quality. And there's some brands that if they grow too big too quickly, they can't maintain that, right? And
And
that's
they lose
something that,
quality.
right. So say for instance, market movers, it's so personalized. For me to scale, for us to really scale that, it's like there's parts of it that would be lost, right? That I won't be able to personalize. I won't be able to write every smiley on the bag. I now have to do fully printed bags. And it takes away those little touch points, right? But I can print my bag with something original, or it doesn't have to be the same thank you, thank you, thank you on the bag. I can try to do something different. So those are some misconceptions, but I really think this workshop is, when you do these things, you save yourself a lot of time, a lot of money, a lot of I think the biggest thing for me, why this is so important to invest in, as you grow your brand, you're gonna encounter buyers, distributors, people all along the value chain of what you're doing. And if they don't respect your brand or if they don't understand your brand, they don't even have to respect it. But if they don't understand your brand, you're dead in the water, because they have to think of, and this is where Farm and Function is unique, because we've expanded more into the trade, more people, touch the brand, if that makes sense, right? We're exporting, and it has to resonate, it has to carry through, right?
Has to
When we
leave a sense of
first
feeling.
Yeah, when we first exported to Barbados, it was like, oh, that expensive, But again, I was exporting well, by the time it landed there, of course. But what we made sure is the quality, the sustainability. Why, when you invest in this brand, it benefits you tenfold, and the return on investment. And people now value, you know, they may not only want it, they will invest in something more expensive if they know it has a return. And I think that's where, as you expand your brand, you have to set what the brand stands for, because I'm telling you, people will throw your box, little things like that, right? When we got into PriceSmart, um, I went to see them load this up on the shelf for the first time. And the guy was like tossing the box and punching it. And I was like, yo, it's local. And I explained to him, and I showed him on the box he's like, serious? I love mango. Wait, I could sell mango to you. Like, I have a mango tree. And these are the things. And now every time I see him, he's just like giving me the best spots. And these are things that you have to think about, right? That now when he sees the blue box, there's this correlation of, that this is a local brand. And I think that's really, really important, to know where you want to take your brand. And I can help you sort of put certain things in place, that allows you to withstand that type of growth. And that's really what it is. You're preparing for growth. I hope everybody wants to grow their
I think
business.
we understand it's 2025.
Yeah.
Well, we 1 month in already, if people didn't realize. It's 2025, and I
January
think
is just messing with everybody.
yeah, we understand that we want to grow our businesses, and we want to take it to the next level and take it to the next step. And I think we talked about branding being that foundation. So you don't
Yeah.
want to grow and then you realize your foundation is messed up. And in construction terms, you have to do the whole thing over again,
They
right? And
will,
you're
they
doing
will
more damage.
bulldoze your building down. You have to start all over. It's happened to us before,
And
so it's really important, that you set that right foundation. And I think workshops like this, and I know workshops have become, part and parcel of everything now, but where you spend your time is very important. And I tend to look for examples of successful businesses or persons who share. I was on a workshop with Michael Leachin. That's like my next goal of like, brand and how to grow something and really take it into that profitability phase. And that's the next phase of growing my brand. So of course I'm gonna be in that workshop. And I think for anyone who is you have to have something not to follow, but a guide, right? Persons who succeeded in it, they understand it. They may not all be teachers, and I think that's important. Luckily for me, through IBTT, the mentoring really shaped me in kind of disseminating the information in a way that persons can understand. So this workshop is not going to be over your head. I'm going to discuss some pretty fundamental basic rules that we use and apply to our business. But at the same time, you're going to see very practical ways with other businesses in the Caribbean and how they've grown. Another thing is, please remember that your brand, or most of you might be growing your brand in the Caribbean, in Trinidad and Tobago. You have to know and understand. You have to build the right brand that can survive in this environment. Right? Every environment is different, every market is different, but being in the Caribbean, and I will say now is the time to really grow your brand because you're seeing investments in and look around, read the papers, right? See what's happening in your country, in your environment. What are your customers going through right now, right? We all know that, health and wellness has become a priority. So many chronic illnesses, and it continues, right? Everyone is affected now. It's not cancer, isn't something, So we are discerning of that. Cancer research investments has gone up considerably, and diet and health and wellness is part of that mitigation and prevention strategy. So I have to align myself, and now is the time where you see in the Caribbean food security, the topics that are coming up: food security, innovation, diversification. So you coming up with something now or growing your brand now, it's other markets looking to see, okay, where are the opportunities in the Caribbean, right? Climate resilience, all the topics that are there. How does your brand, how is it going to evolve with that, right? If you're not doing something sustainable now for your brand, with your brand, or aligning with something sustainable, you're not gonna grow in the way that you might want to, right? And it's
And you're
gonna
missing
limit
out on
you.
opportunities.
Yeah, and I'm talking about, okay, we recycle our bottles in the office, whatever it is. It can be very small steps, but you still have to align with something sustainable, responsible, how you take care of your team. I know there's so many things that can affect your brand, right? And as I said, remove the human. I try to, the brand is untouchable at work. When there's like the number one priority is the brand. We have to protect this brand at all costs. And that sometimes means, things can go wrong, right? And how do you deal with that? There were times on the trade where, for instance, and I'm going to share, real experiences. I don't want to give away all, but like, what did we do when something went wrong with our brand? And you can say the customer don't understand. You can blame everybody, but in the end, it's your responsibility. It's your brand to fix it, to communicate it. And I think these are some of the tools that if as soon as you can implement, people want to deal with you. They want to work with you. They want to be a part of what you're trying to build. And I think that's important to relay. Unfortunately, now, if you are the person behind your brand, you have to put your face in front of the camera, which Shadron is always trying to make me do. Um, but it is important. It really is important. Luckily for me, my business partner, he doesn't like to be in front of the camera, so I just got that job automatically. Um, but more and more, he also now has to come out, and you have to really bring people want to know who they're dealing with, who they're doing business with. And it's not just the everyday consumer, it's big buyers, it's distributors. So you're gonna learn a lot. And you're going to have some key takeaways that you can apply right away to your own brand. It's not going to just be about what we do. I'm going to show you other brands that we've helped and how they were able to grow you know, and it's possible. It's possible. You know, we helped a roti brand and they are now exporting roti, like, you know, just by investing in their branding. And I think that's something that you cannot take for granted at this stage in your business. Fix it now, do it now, define it now, so you don't have to worry about it later on. There's a guideline. This is what the brand stands for, and this is what we do.
And I think by listening to you, I hope that everyone who's listening, sharing it with somebody that they know,
Yeah,
that
who
has a
can
business,
benefit?
that's thinking about a business, and we understand the importance of it. And I spoke to the CEO, and what we're going to do is, because we're doing our annual survey currently, touching base with a lot of our entrepreneurs,
Mhm.
and we're going through the challenges that they're having, we recognize that branding and really kind of understanding what their brand is, even like the three liner describing your business, right? We realize the challenges that people are having with that. We're going to offer 50% discount for anybody who attended our YBT workshop session in the last 3 years. Let's say the last 3 years, right? I'll play it see you, don't worry, right? So then the last 3 years attended any YBTT workshop session. Joshua will be the one contacting you after you register. So register now. Talk
Yes,
to Joshua, tell him, you know, I attended YBTT workshop at XYZ,
give me
and
my discount.
you would understand the discount from there. So with that, folks, just remember February 11th, that's the 11 days. Yeah,
Yep.
11 days, not counting today, 11 days away, not counting weekends, right? So 11
And
days
I
away.
will say when you invest in your brand now and you're contributing to the YBTT organization, the work that we do, this money is not going in our pockets. It's going to help other entrepreneurs. And I'm telling you, when you invest or pay it forward in any way, it really does come back to you a lot. And people remember that. I'm gonna remember you in the workshop. Just saying. Shadron, of course, build your network. All that is part of brand building. Take the leap. Yeah, and I'm done with my sales pitch of the workshop.
Right, great times, Rish. And so, folks, hope we see you there. Make sure to tell a friend, and then tell
Yes,
that friend, right? Right. And oh yes, if you tell two friends, remember we also have a group discount as well. So, folks,
yes,
there's nothing stopping you but you, and this is your
agreed.
opportunity to take 2025 into your new brand, right? So, with that, it's been real. It's been nice. It's been real nice. And we'll
Looking
see you all next
forward.
time. And yeah, if you haven't registered, we'll put the link in our chat. Go through the page, but we'll post again with the link with the chat from here. Folks, take care.
Awesome. Bye.